to show you, this is the Coalition to End Homelessness. Obviously, they changed their name to Alliance to End Homelessness. See, this is what they do, right? We're looking for a part-time temporary community data dashboard research associate. Now, why would they use this term? What does an organization have to do with... An organization that is involved in homelessness have to do with that title, right? And why do they choose to use that title in that way? Now, what would you say a community data dashboard research associate would be? What does that mean? Like, can you even determine from reading that what that job role would have to do with? You would say research, obviously, right? Community data research. So it has something to do with research in the community and data. Well, if you look, the research dashboard is a web-based application which will give researchers an overview of their applications, grants, and contracts, including the progress of a grant application, a summary of the current balance on a research grant, including visibility of both award data and project level data, blah, 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 blah. So basically it has to do also with grants. Money has to do with money, handling of finances. And the coalition always tries to do stuff like this. They literally try to hide by using fancy titles like community data dashboard research associate when they could have just said, like somebody that handles the financial stuff around whatever the grants and stuff like that. Like, they don't say grants, they don't say financial, they don't say revenue, they don't say money, because a coalition to end homelessness doesn't want to look like they're in it for money, because they represent themselves as a nonprofit or a charity organization to help with poverty relief. But in reality, it's really it's a machine to make money. It's a marketing machine. It is a business model that they operate through. Everything has to do with a financial revenue involved in corporation, organization, charity, or nonprofit. It's all about money. And the crazy thing is when I spent 7 years homeless in Victoria, BC, there were limited to absolutely no resources. Every resource they said, hey, go here for housing, go here for this, go here for that. I would go to these places and go there, and there's like, oh, well, there's not much we can do. Just go look on Kijiji and see what's available. Like, do you really get paid 8 hours a day to sit there and tell people and print out things off Kijiji like we couldn't do that ourselves? Well, there's a lot of people wasting a lot of money sitting there getting paid 8 hours a day. And these organizations and the coalition and these other charities like Our Place and Kool-Aid, yeah, they do some things, but the amount of money that they generate versus the amount of services that they offer or resources they offer is astronomical. The numbers do not reflect the revenue generated to uphold their system, and everything within it does not reflect in the services that they're giving. There's nothing going to the homeless people, but there's hundreds of millions of dollars being generated in this city around homelessness. And they got this entire financial system that deals with revenue on such complex, layered levels. Like, it's insane. Like, the coalition also has another parent company, right on their website. They have it on their website. They have another financial company that deals with their other aspects of their finances. And I found them through their financial statement that I got from the board members only area. See, they changed their name after I started making videos exposing them. And then people started running away and hiding. I'm trying to find if I can see it or not on the website. I forget the name. I have it written down somewhere. I have it written down somewhere, but I forget the name. Anyways, but they have another company that deals with their finances and revenue and stuff like that for the coalition. Like, they have so much going on around financial and so much going on around revenue. And when I was out there homeless, there was nothing. I could hardly get bread from anywhere. I could hardly get a pair of socks. There was no resources. There was one place to shower, and it was disgusting. They didn't clean the place. There's bed bugs. The Salvation Army had bed bugs. There's 30 men jammed in one dorm with bed bugs getting eaten alive, and you're sleeping in a room with 30 other men in bunk beds. It's crazy, and they're charging you $600 a month to live there. It's insane. The Salvation Army in Victoria, BC. It's nuts. It's insane. And the staff are mean, cruel, abusive. They abuse their power over you because they hold your bed over your head and they use it to hurt you, And I went through that for 7 years and I couldn't believe it, and I couldn't get out of homelessness because the system out here was literally designed to keep you homeless. There was no opportunities. There's no employment programs. There was hardly any recovery homes. There's like 2 in the whole city. But they're generating $500 million a year plus in the name of homelessness, in addiction and mental health, but they don't even have more than 2 friggin' recovery homes in the city. But you can spend hundreds of millions and billions on building condos all day. Like, there's something wrong. It's quite obvious. You know what I mean? It's not a conspiracy. Like, it's literally, you can calculate. You can just look at it and observe it and witness it at this point. But you would have to go through homelessness for a prolonged period of time, and then on top of it, make it out, and then get employed to the same organizations that claim to be helping with poverty relief to actually fully see the entire fraudulent pyramid scheme that they've created in a business that they've made out of homelessness in this city. So you would have to go through all those experiences to obtain this knowledge and information about what's happening. It's not me guessing, it's me witnessing. Now, it's very difficult to prove finances of nonprofits, charities, and organizations that are involved in that type of work. They have an entire financial system that is very, very complex and very organized and very sophisticated. And you would have to educate yourself on finances pretty deeply. Like, they have professionals that are educated for 10, 20 years in finance working for them. Okay, so why all this work around financial and finances and funding and all this stuff? That is the main ingredient to their entire existence. It's all about money. But when you start to educate yourself and you see what these terms are and these titles are and what they're doing and why is everything about money, but they don't show that it's about money. You'd have to get employed to them. You'd have to get inside the board to be invited to their events, which I was invited to one of their events, and they had like caviar and they had like fancy foods, and they're all just getting together talking about, millions of dollars that they're generating and distributing to other charities and organizations. It's like all of these charities and organizations are making all the money except for the homeless guy, and the homeless guy's just sitting there like, can I get a piece of bread? Sorry, like, we don't have anything today, come back tomorrow. Like, is the shelter, like, is there a bed tonight? Sorry, the shelter's full, we don't have any resources for you. Like, there's nothing. For 7 years, there was nothing. And for 7 years, they were pulling in hundreds of millions and trillions of dollars just in this city. You can go and look at the charity data and see for the last 5 years how much money they've generated. Now, they lie about their expenditures. They do things to get away with fraud in a legal way through tax loopholes and other avenues when it comes to nonprofits and charities. There's an entire financial system built around it. Okay, it's very, very hard to decipher. It's very hard to decode. It's almost impossible. But if you look and pay attention, and if you've been through the experience, you know that the money that's being generated is not reflecting in the place that it should be, because all of that money was generated in the name of homelessness. Who's homeless? The homeless people. So let's go and look at their lives and see that $500 million per year being generated out here in this city. Let's go and look at it in their lives and see how much that it's created change in their lives and improved their lives and created new opportunity and abilities to overcome homelessness and actually be able to contribute to society. When I got out of homelessness and I got involved in the organizations, they were looking at me like a meal ticket. Oh, we got the guy with lived experience, so we need more funding. They were scheming the whole time. I thought I was doing something significant, important, and having purpose. And they're just feeding me crumbs, like $20 a week. while they're getting, pulling in $200,000 a year salaries and not really doing anything. And, raising hundreds of millions of dollars in the name of homelessness, but none of it's affecting the actual homeless people in the street. There's no resources, there's no nothing. And they'll go and get socks and stupid things like that, and go and hand out socks like they're doing something significant when, you guys are generating $500 million a year, acting like you're not paying for your friggin' houses and your vacations to Paris. And I even looked on their Facebooks and took screenshots of them bragging about their multiple vacations to Paris and France and all that stuff, taking pictures in front of the Eiffel Tower and bragging about their multiple vacations. And then they're all friends at the same time. They're all friends on Facebook, liking each other's posts. The people that run Our Place, the people that run the ARC and the Salvation Army, the people that run Kool-Aid, they're all friends. Everybody that owns a nonprofit charity organization in Victoria, BC, they're all affiliated with each other and hang out after work. Like, literally, like they're all laughing at each other's posts, liking each other's posts about them bragging about vacations. They're celebrating their success of getting rich off of homelessness and making a living off of it, while the homeless are suffering in complete lack and desperation, and don't even have their basic needs at all met at all in any way, shape, or form. Like, it's just complete deprivation, oppression, and abuse from the same establishments that claim to be there to help, and they're pulling in millions of dollars at the same time. It's disgusting. Yeah, somebody's got to say something about it. Somebody's got to do something about it, and I did that. But where's the proof? Well, this whole experience is the proof. When you're involved in a complex, sophisticated financial pyramid scheme that is backed up and supported by the government and the financial infrastructure from Toronto to here, to Victoria, even Charity Data is owned by, I think his name is Mark Blumberg. And Charity Data is owned by Blumberg. What's Blumberg? Well, when you go look up Blumberg, you find out that Mark Blumberg, I think it's Mark, I could be wrong, I'll have to relook again what his name is, but he owns that company Blumberg, and Blumberg owns Charity Data, and Our Place and ARC and all these organizations and charities operate through Charity Data, okay? And that's where they input their receipts every year of how much money they generated and how much their expenditures were. This is how, when you are a nonprofit charity organization, you have to provide receipts. You have to provide financial everything, revenue, everything. But they manipulate it. They take advantage of it. And the person that owns Charity Data, where this is Charity Data, this is where we go to look to see, how much money these organizations have generated and how much they've spent their expenditures and how much they pay their staff salaries. This is how you can see to the public and look at their financials and see what they're doing with the money that they're generating. And they have they're called to do that legally, but by law. But Charity Data is owned by by Blumberg, and Blumberg is actually Mark Blumberg. I think his name's Mark. I could be wrong. You can just Google Blumberg. You'll find out. He is a lawyer in Toronto. He's a lawyer. What does a lawyer have any business owning an organization that owns another organization that is involved in it's the biggest organization in Canada that deals with charities and nonprofits financial defenses. So the publicizing of charities' financial and revenue related stuff. Charities have to put up their revenue publicly for the public to see and for the government to monitor to make sure they're not committing fraud. But unfortunately, the organization that is responsible for doing that is called Charity Data, and Charity Data is owned by Blumberg. And what is Blumberg? Blumberg is the last name of the person that owns Blumberg, which is Mark Blumberg. I think it's Mark. Could be a different name. I have to Google it. Not going to do it right now. Okay. I already looked into this, and he is a lawyer in Toronto that knows, if he's a lawyer in Toronto, he's one of the biggest lawyers in the country, and Charity Data harvests all of the charity data for every charity and nonprofit in Canada. And he controls that. And he's a lawyer out of Toronto. Do you not understand that? Do you not see that? A lawyer knows every single legal loophole in the system. Right. Are you thinking now? A lawyer knows how to get away. A lawyer knows how to legally get away with fraud. A lawyer knows every single legal loophole in the system possible to exploit and take advantage of. This is a master-minded, multi-level, multi-layered, sophisticated, systematic machine in the business of fraud, off of the backs and the blood, sweat, and tears of homelessness, mental health, and addiction. And it's all secured by the law. And the government knows about it, and the government's involved in it. And to the public, it looks as if, hey, the government only says, hey, we had to spend $300 million this year on homelessness. We had to spend $1 billion this year on homelessness. What they didn't tell you is that they generated $100 billion around homelessness and only put $1 billion into it, making you think that that was a significant number, making you think, the public think, that your tax dollars paid for that $1 billion, not knowing that they've taken your tax dollars and tripled it and profited from your tax dollars by investing it in other assets and profiting from that off of your money that you think sits in the bank. It doesn't. It actually works for them, and they get rich off of your money as we get more and more poor, as the dollar loses value. Okay? So this all is connected and related. Like, this is how deep it goes. It took me a lot of time, a lot of research, a lot of real life experience to get this far to figure this out. Okay? So, and how did we get this far? From a post from the Coalition to End Homelessness, or the Alliance to End Homelessness, about hiring somebody that is supposed to take care of or overlook the financial aspects of the organization when it comes to the grants, how much money is left in the grants, making sure grant applications are being approved and going through, and keeping on their money, because none of it goes to the homeless. They will spend a very small fraction on very small things that are very insignificant and not bringing that much of a detrimental effect on the social issue that they claim to attend to. But to the community, it looks like a big deal, because it really is a big deal to people that have no money and people that are poor and people that are homeless. You could give them an apple and they would know and think that that's a blessing. So people exploit and take advantage of this factor. And little do people know there's billions of dollars involved, and they're pocketing all of it and only putting a very small percentage towards the social issue, which is causing it to be prolonged, never fix, never correct, because they're not putting enough of the resources that they're obtaining and generating towards the actual social issue, because they're swallowing it whole, living off of it, and living luxuriously while they're smiling, accepting humanity awards at the same time in pictures. Okay, and they're raising funds to the community, and the community, the poor people, the mid-class people, are investing their money towards these avenues and these programs and these agencies and these charities to try to help with poverty and homelessness, and they want to contribute because they care about their community. And these charities and these coalitions and organizations are taking advantage of that too, exploiting the community, committing fraud, tax fraud, community fraud, legally throughout this entire system that I just broke down to you. Now, when you go and Google all this stuff, you're going to see what I'm saying is true. In fact, I'm just going to do it real quick. So, give me a second. So, let's go Google. Now you're gonna see this, what I'm talking about. You're gonna actually see this. Charity data. Okay, charitydata.ca. Blumbergs. Wow. What's Blumberg? So before we do that, let's just go here and say Kool-Aid Society, which is an organization or a charity or nonprofit in Victoria, BC that deals with poverty relief, apparently. But they don't do anything for anybody, really, to be honest. And they're abusive to their employees, poor management, they're mismanaging all the revenue, and they're making millions and millions of dollars. And very small amounts of it is actually going towards helping. But they will lie in their revenue reports and act as if they spent more money or the exact same amount as they generated. And if you look at this, they generated over $30 million in 2021. Let me tell you, okay? 2021, 2022, 2019, I was out there in a street for 7 years. None of this money reflected in the streets where in this city in any way, shape, or form of resources for. What does this place do? Let's see. What are they involved in? Charitable organization, other purposes beneficial to the community. Right. They're supposed to be helping the homeless and people in poverty, low income people. It's a homelessness related organization. Outreach, people in poverty, low income, blah blah. Anyways, they hardly do anything for anybody. But you see that number, 36 million? If I had $36 million, I could change homelessness overnight in this city. If you gave me a budget of $36 million and said fix homelessness right now, I would literally be able to do that. Like within, obviously a realistic amount of time, I would be able to, but that's the thing. All these guys run everything. So you'd have to operate with them or through them in order to achieve what you would need to achieve, because they've claimed everything. They've bought all the things out and they're all connected and stuff. But anyways, they would never let that happen anyways. And I did try to get to a point where I could get funding and create programs that would actually create change and effect, but that would affect their revenue numbers because there'd be less homeless people and there'd be more people making it out of homelessness and into society. And then their money would go down because there'd be less and less demand for that amount of money. So what they do is create more poverty, more homelessness, more addiction, more mental health issues by being abusive to the homeless and fucking around and doing all kinds of shit that they're not supposed to be doing. And then that requires more and more demand because the problem is increasing and getting worse. But they will say, oh, it's because people are moving out here from other places and blah, blah, blah. They just make shit up as they go. Anyways, the whole thing is a fucking pyramid scheme. And okay, so this is charity data. Everything's on here. The Salvation Army, everything in the whole country is on charity data. You look up any organization that you can think of in Canada, any charity and nonprofit, it will be in here. The Salvation Army, Our Place, everything. And look at that, over $30 million. Our Place did the same thing. They did like $15 million. Our Place Society. So I don't need proof. You don't get it. People are like, prove it. Like, let's see the proof. We want to see inside of their bank accounts. Like, how am I supposed to see inside of these people's bank accounts? It's impossible. They know that too. And then they have an entire legal system that defends them in this fraud. And how do you know it's fraud? Because you would have to spend 7 years out there homeless to see that those numbers being generated are not reflecting at all. Zero in the places that they're supposed to be reflecting. What does this say? Relief of poverty. $15 million in 2021. Bro, what are you talking about? I was out there for the last 7 years. There was no $15 million. There was no $30 million. There was no fucking money out there. There was no fucking help. There was no socks. There was no fucking food. There was no place to shower, you fucking goofs. You guys made it impossible. It was fucking impossible to survive out there. It was disgusting. And the people that are working at these fucking places like Our Place and the Salvation Army, the ARC and the fucking Kool-Aid are fucking goofy, cruel, mean, power tripping, demon, evil, wannabe evil fucking pieces of shit. A lot of them are. Not all of them are. A lot of innocent people wanted to help and contribute, got employed to these places, ended up quitting because they saw the abuse that was going on from the higher up managements of these places. They reported it. Go look at their fucking reviews on Google. You know what I'm saying? I've spoken to some of these people that are ex-employees of these places, and they said everything I'm saying is true. But they can't talk about it because it'll affect their ability to get employed in this fucking city. Okay, now we clicked on Blumbergs. See how deep we're going? We went from charity data, clicked on Blumbergs, and where did it bring us? Canadian charity law. Over 86,149 Canadian registered charities. The charitable sector in Canada has become more challenging, highly competitive. Donors, regulators, media, the public, and other stakeholders have increasingly high expectations of charities and nonprofits, how they operate. If your organization requires legal or compliance assistance, we may be able to help. Look at this. Now, you might not be able to see the secret in this. You might not be able to identify with this because you haven't been through 7 years of homelessness. You haven't been employed to multiple nonprofits and charity organizations that claim to be about poverty relief, and then figure out what they're really doing and how they're making money and what game they're really playing. For you to identify with this, it takes a lot of experience. They have an entire legal system that defends them in the fraud that they're committing, and it's backed by the law, and it's backed by lawyers, and it's backed by sectors of government and everything else. So charity data is owned by Canadian Charity Law. This is a whole nother website, which is owned by Blumbergs, and Blumbergs owns Canadian Charity Law and charity data. And every single charity and nonprofit in Canada goes through charity data. Okay, so who is Blumbergs? Oh, look at that. They won't even let you go that far. Well, I know how to do this. I can just go to Google. Goof. Yeah, you fucking goofs. Yeah, exactly. I agree. A bunch of goofs. Anyways, I'll go here, and then I'll go Blumbergs. What is Blumbergs? Blumbergs. This is the actual website. Blumbergs provides legal advice and assistance to charities and nonprofits relating to compliance and standards. Blumbergs assists group blah, 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 blah. Who owns Blumbergs? Because Blumbergs owns the Canadian Charity Law entity and Charity Data, which owns all of the financial data to every charity and nonprofit in Canada. Well, we need to know who the fuck Blumbergs is. That's what we need to do. Right? Right. So, what do we got here? Full range of innovative, cost-effective legal solutions to charities, nonprofits, and don't even know how to say that. Don't give a fuck. But what we obviously can see by going up that fucking rabbit hole that we just went up, coming from a homeless person that spent 7 years in the streets homeless and doesn't do drugs, so they couldn't discredit me and make me look like I'm fucking mentally unstable and discreditable. And I got employed to all the organizations out here in the city just so I could laugh in their fucking faces so they couldn't do nothing to me. Imagine abusing a homeless person and then seeing them like 2 years later sitting in the chair beside you working for the same organization as you, getting employed under a fucking employment contract. Do you know how fucking sick they would feel to their stomach? Well, I did that to people. And I felt great about it. But, and they deserve it. And I promise you that I'm not lying about this stuff. This is really real. And it's heartbreaking. It's mind-boggling. And it's very complex. And it's painful. It really is. I wanted to show who is this guy? Who is Blumberg? What is Blumberg? Now, you can see Blumberg's professional corporation is in Toronto, just like I said. And if you look, websites, blumbergs.ca, Canada Charity Law, Charity Data, Smart Giving. Right. All about money. Right. Okay. So, like, if you can't understand this and see and make the connections, there's nothing that is going to help you do that ever anyways. So here we go. Mark Blumberg is a lawyer. Mark Blumberg is a lawyer at the law firm Blumberg's professional corporation in Toronto. Works almost exclusively in the area of nonprofit and charity law. Yeah, it does. Well, mostly anyways. And then bro, if you can't understand this, if you can't see this, I don't know what could show you. I really don't. You are looking at things at face value. You're saying, yeah, so what? Charities need a legal system to help them deal with their financial aspects. Yeah, of course. That's normal, right? They use normal things in normal scenarios to exploit and take advantage of not normal things, like committing fraud through homelessness. It's an exploit. It's an avenue to take advantage. It's an opportunity, and that's what everybody's seen it as, and they created an entire system around it to take advantage of it, all the way down to this guy, Mark Blumberg. And when I read about Mark Blumberg and his little story, he mentioned that there was another entity or another name of another layer, excuse me, another entity named, I don't even remember what it was named, but it was named and created in memory of, there's Mark right there, look at his face. You can just tell he's a lying-ass piece of shit, can't you? He's a fucking lawyer. What are you, stupid? You don't know how this shit works? Come on, man. Fuck. If a street guy can figure this shit out, what the fuck's wrong with you guys? You know what I mean? Like, seriously. You have to really level up. But I guess it takes the experience, and you guys haven't actually been through it. So I feel bad for you. If anything, you're a victim to this fucking machine that you have faith in and you take favor in over the person that's actually been through it. And you think you know what the fuck you're talking about. It's sad. Anyways, just for 1 hour, $250-$500 plus tax. It's about fucking money, bro. And they need to secure themselves and find a way to protect themselves legally. And they do that through a lawyer from Toronto called Mark Blumberg. And Mark Blumberg owns all of those layers. And it's a bro, it's insane. This guy is could fucking, I don't even bro, is there even a number to describe that high up? Like, there's billions, trillions. What the fuck comes after fucking trillions and billions? Like, bro, like, that's what this guy is. This guy's the richest fucking, gotta be one of the richest people in the fucking world. Like, 84,000 charities are under his command, his control. They all have to pay for his services, bro. And he helps them break the law and commit fraud and get away with it because he's a lawyer, bro. Like, he knows all the loopholes in the system. He can just pay the judge off, and the judge will be like, all right, I'll see you on the weekend. We'll have a beer and laugh about it. Like, it's really that real. If you don't believe it, then you just don't have the experience. You haven't been on both sides of the fence like I have. You have not experienced this. And it's hard to believe. I wouldn't believe it either until I experienced it. I had to go through it in order to believe it. There was no other way. And it took me a long time to come to these conclusions and do this type of research. It's insane. Like, I should be getting paid for this. Like, this is crazy. But anyways, it talked about his brother, that a faction of this pyramid scheme that he's created to capitalize off of charities and protect them legally in their fraud that they commit. He named it all after and under his brother, which is deceased, which tells me that how can anybody sue his incorporation or Blumberg or anything like that? It's a part of his name. And secondly, it all roots back to his brother that is deceased, which means that if you were to try to sue or take legal action against his enterprise that he's built, as you've seen, from Blumberg to Canadian charity law to charity data to everything to do with the law, and he's a lawyer, and it all, you would think, goes back to him. But once you find him and you see it all connects to him, he says, well, I actually put it all under my brother's name, which is deceased, and created all in memory of him. So you can sue him because he's deceased. Do you see what a lawyer is capable of doing? A lawyer knows how to do things and get away with it legally, okay? So don't forget that all these charities and nonprofits know this. They know that they have him. They know that they have charity data. They know that they have Canadian charity law to back them up. And this guy's a lawyer. What does a fucking lawyer have any business on a mass scale like this doing this? He's a genius. He's a fucking genius. And he knew that all of these charities are committing fraud and getting away with millions and millions of dollars. And he said, well, instead of fucking like taking them all out, let me give them a platform in a system they can rely on to actually protect them in those avenues. I can show them how to financially get away with fraud because I know the loopholes. And not to mention, I'm a credible, well-established, respected lawyer in Toronto. And I'm a fucking more than a trillionaire, and I can do whatever the fuck I want. So I'm going to capitalize off this because he knows, because he deals with court cases of charities committing fraud and that have been caught, and he had to defend them. So he had to figure out ways to defend them. And when he did, and he mastered that throughout his career, he realized he had an opportunity to start an enterprise that deals with the legalities for nonprofits and charities. And that's exactly what Mark did. And then he named it all under his deceased brother. So that way, if you tried to sue or do anything legally, well, how the fuck are you going to sue a dead guy? Sorry, no disrespect, but that's a fucking masterminded criminal enterprise pyramid scheme. And how did I figure this out? Well, from actually witnessing the pyramid schemes in these fraudulent charities and nonprofits, I saw how malicious they were through my experience, and it led me down this path. And that's how I figured all this stuff out, all the way from the coalition. And I had to get in there myself and figure it all out. So, you're welcome.